Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. What's up, Island Child Creations? How you doing this morning? Nigel Stroll, what's going on? How you doing? Gonna give it one more minute to let some other folks join in, and then I'll get started. What's up, Joe? How you doing? Glad you came. Rise and grind. Exactly, exactly, exactly. All right, gonna give it one more minute before I begin. One more minute. Feel free to drop any questions that you might have in the live chat. Miss Living Now, how you doing? How you doing? Glad you made it. Appreciate the follow. Appreciate the follow, Ari. Did I pronounce your name correctly? Is it Ari Ma Success or Ari Ma Success? Or is it just Ari? What's up, Greg? Glad you're here. All right, it's 7:15, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so in the pre-market prep, feel free to drop any questions in the live chat. I'll pause periodically to answer any questions that you have. In the pre-market prep, my format is simple. I cover Tesla specifically. Okay, I cover Tesla specifically. I talked about, I did share a resource for those of you who may be interested in learning how to chart and also cover multiple stocks of interest in terms of different tech stocks like Meta, Microsoft, Google, and so on. Different semiconductors like AMD, NVIDIA, the indices like QQQ, SPY, and even futures. You could check out my mentor's number two pro trader, Jack, right now on his live session. And I shared that resource already to many of you. All right. So he's very, very good at teaching the simplicity of charting and conducting a chart analysis. All right. So you can see exactly what the stock is doing and be prepared to either enter a position for the long, enter a long position or a short position. All right. So if you're interested in checking that out, feel free to check that out now. All right. If you already have that link. All right, cool. So Carlos, what's up? What's up? What's up? Hey, everybody. Glad everyone could make it. What's up? What's up? What's up? Hey, Angie. Hey, Angie. Let's see who else is in the Riz. What's going on? Byron, Brian. Sorry about that. End zone. I love that handle. End zone. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me briefly go over the format. So I want to talk about. I didn't take any trades yesterday. But there is something that I do want to highlight a little bit later in this pre-market session. And first thing that we're going to cover is the scheduled news. Again, we always take a look at scheduled red and orange folder news to see what's going on in the market, because that scheduled news can either negatively or positively impact the market today. So you want to be prepared if you're preparing to enter into a position. All right, then we'll take a look at Tesla specific news in Trading View, and we'll see what news has dropped uh, recently. And then we'll kind of basically just skim through and see if we see any headliners that could positively or negatively impact Tesla today. All right. And then I'll talk about what I expect coming into today. Again, my primary tech target for trading is always Tesla. But if Tesla does not perform or doesn't do anything, doesn't present the opportunity for an entry, then I'll defer to other options such as the semiconductors or the Mag 7 or other tech stocks. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into red folder scheduled news, red or orange folder news. I go to forexfactory.com. Forexfactory.com. Let me zoom in for those of you on TikTok live so you can hopefully see this a little clearer, right? All right, so today is Wednesday. We did have some orange folder news at 2 a.m. Then we had some red folder news at 3. Okay, we have some more red folder news that just dropped at 7:15. And that looked pretty neutral. All right, so let's see. And then we have some more red folder news dropping at 7:30. Pretty heavy today, 8:45, 9, 9:30, 1. So throughout the day. So we're going to have to kind of pop in, check in periodically to see, make sure you stay abreast on what time that news is scheduled to drop. And then make sure you're either in a position or out or wait till the news drops, see what direction the market is trending or your stock of interest is trending, and then enter that position. All right. So let's take a look. Just for example, let's take a look. Remember, the pre-market opens at 3 a.m. Central, 4 a.m. Eastern. Okay, 3 a.m. Central, 4 a.m. Eastern. All right, so we did have orange and red folder news drop at 2 and 3. So let's go ahead and jump over to Tesla to take a look to see if there was any impact whatsoever. All right, so for those of you on TikTok, let me zoom in just a little bit more. Let me do this. Boom, boom, boom. So really quickly, this shaded area that's shaded yellow is the pre-market. So from 3 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Central, 4 to 9:30 a.m. Eastern. All right. So we did have a jump. We did have quite a jump. All right. So this is a significant candle right at the open. You can see we closed here. This very, very skinny. I don't know if you all can see that, but let me stretch it out a little bit more. There's a very, very tiny seller candle here. All right. So the purple are cello. The purple represents sellers. The green represents buyers. All right. So this is where we closed yesterday at 7 p.m. Central. And we opened today at 3 a.m. Central. Again, Eastern is 4 a.m. And that would have been 8 p.m. yesterday, Eastern. All right. So look at this significant candle. So that when that news drops, as I said, you just want to take a look and be mindful because you want to prepare yourself. Because if you were taking a position toward the downside, look what could have happened. All right. And vice versa. All right. So we do have quite a bit of scheduled news dropping today. So we're going to have to be mindful and check in periodically to see what's going on and how that may impact the your target, right? Hey, what's up, LJ? Glad you made it. Let me pause really quick. Does anyone have any questions? Looks like I don't see any questions so far, so I will proceed. Hey, Anime, what's up? How you doing? Glad you made it. Lee, Divine Recovery, glad you all could make it. Mono, what's up? Isaac, hey, glad you made it. Child of the UN, what's up? Neeson, what's up? What's up? What's up? Glad you all are here. V3, appreciate you all joining. Lionheart, what's up? All right, so let's talk about Tesla specific news. Let's hop over to Tesla. Currently, we were up when I started this live. We were up 0.22% in the pre-market. All right, we did drop a little bit since I went live. Yesterday, we closed at 3. Let me make sure you all on TikTok live can see that. We did close yesterday at 321 and change. So this was pretty weird, right? After earnings, we did have a day one mover right after earnings. Remember, earnings was last week, Wednesday. And I talked about this in the live session, in the pre-market live session prior to earnings. And I said, if you're interested in trading Tesla, don't be afraid to trade Tesla. Just keep a watch out because their earnings doesn't necessarily matter or impact investors jumping in to push the stock price higher. And they've done it several times. And I showed that on the daily chart when Tesla's earnings was red. the stock still pushed higher because of other news, right? So either, something Elon did or something Tesla is planning to do, right? We also had the robo taxi service drop early, or excuse me, at the later part of June. And I talked about that as well. Keep in mind, Tesla is transitioning from a EV automotive company to a tech based company. All right. And so don't be fooled by the robo taxi service. All right. Think about it being more of an application of AI, because AI is the third arm or leg that Tesla is adding to their business. Currently, Tesla is 90% EV automotive, 10%, a little over 10% energy. All right, we talked about yesterday what Tesla's doing abroad, like over in China with the battery plant, and then the new deal that they just did with the Taiwan-based company Samsung, all right, for to buy their chips. And we talked about even why they might have chosen Samsung versus other chip makers like Nvidia, AMD, and so on, right? Intel is not even in the picture, but they could have been. But why did Elon choose Tesla? Excuse me, why did they choose Samsung, right? And so we read over the news. We took a look at Tesla specific news. You can always find that. You can always find that news in TradingView, tradingview.com. It's a free tool. All right. It's a free tool. So all you have to do is search for the particular ticker of interest, and then jump over to the news tab, click on the news tab, and it'll navigate you to the news specific to that ticker. All right. So Elon did drop a tweet talking about why he did. Well, it provided some insight as to why he decided to do that deal. It was a win-win for both parties, right? Samsung has been struggling quite a bit. They lost over 3 billion, I think it said, if I recall correctly. In sales. So they needed some help, and Elon saw the opportunity. It was a win-win situation for both companies. All right. So let's take a quick look. Remember, if you all have any questions, feel free to drop your questions in the live chat. I'll pause periodically and answer those questions. All right. So I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna go dark just briefly. All right. Let me skim over some of these headlines. Tesla stock rise amid report of new battery supplier. Let's see who's Tesla stock rose on Wednesday. It has a new battery supplier, according to a report. Shares of the electric vehicle maker were marginally higher, up 3%, 0.3%. The move comes after Reuters reported that South Korea's LG Energy Solution, or LGE, signed a 4.3 billion deal with Tesla to supply lithium. So look, okay, this is the type of news that I didn't catch this yesterday because I was looking at AMD, so I didn't even check up on the news yesterday. So we had the Samsung deal, and then they just, so this is like, when this stuff happened, people, like, ladies and gentlemen, when this stuff happens, that's what I said, man. Earnings, yeah, for many companies, but Tesla is a unicorn. All right, Tesla is a unicorn. I've been tracking Tesla for the past year, starting in 2024, and I began trading it consistently toward the end of April this year. All right, so this is why we want to take a brief look at the news and keep abreast on what's happening with Tesla. All right, let me pause, make sure no one has any questions. Let's see. All right, cool. Glad every one of you could join. Thank you all for the likes. Thank you all for the support. Thoughts on GTI? What's up, B Nee? Glad you're here. I don't know who GTI is. I primarily cover Tesla, but I could take a look at GTI. I don't have a problem with that right after this. But yeah, I primarily cover like the tech stocks. My primary target is Tesla, and then I'll take a look at other tech stocks like Nvidia, like the semis, like Nvidia, AMD, and so on. And then I might take a look at like Microsoft or Meta, things of that nature. Pretty much some of the companies that's within the S&P 500 spot, that is. But yeah, I'll take a look at that in a sec. If you're able to hang hang on the live. If not, if you have to drop, I'll still cover it. Just feel free to DM me for the replay, and then I'll send that over to you. All right, so let's take a look and just take a quick skim and see if we see anything else. Panasonic Energy, blah blah blah. Cattle falls on Tesla battery deal to reduce China reliance. LG clinches $4.3 billion deal. Hyundai Motor Group heads to U.S. to back South Korea. Tesla signs 4.3 billion. Da da da. We've seen that already. All right, cool. I don't see anything else. I typically go back to where it says, like 16, 12, 13, 20 hours ago. Hold on. eToro. What is this? Tokenized U.S. equities, ETF. Da da da. Trump's biggest trade deal just flopped. Oh, hold on. Let's take a look at this. I may not have caught this one. Trump may have called it the biggest of all the deals, but markets weren't buying the hype. Yo, he's notorious for the long-awaited EU-US trade pact barely moved the needle. The stock 600 eked out 0.6% gain, while the S&P barely moved. Yeah, there wasn't much. There wasn't much activity. Qs and SPY fell at the open. I didn't see what it did toward the latter part of the day, but I'm going to take a look at that here shortly. U.S. Japan. Wait, hold on. Compare that to the 3.5% surge Japan's Nikkei 225 saw when the U.S. Japan deal was signed, and it. So we're still waiting for China. So they're still in talks. I think I haven't seen news on that just yet. Currency markets didn't hold back. Yeah. So still one trade story could stir things up. The U.S. China talks, according to U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, a 90-day extension of the current trade truce. We definitely want to stay abreast on this because this could be a significant have a significant impact on the market. So if anyone knows of a better place to catch real-time news, then let me know because I want to catch those tweets in real time, like to get notified of that information versus manually going to check. All right, so let's talk about, let me pause and see if anyone has any questions. No worries, Beanie, I got you. Good to know. I'm new here. It's GraphJet Tech. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, my background is in tech, so anything tech related, I'm interested. Yeah, so all right, cool. Let's go ahead and take a look at Tesla first, and then I'll get to GraphJet Tech here in a second. Let me pull up that ticker just so I'll have it up really quick. What was that ticker name? GTI. GraphJet Technology. Okay, yeah, on the NASDAQ. All right, cool. Yeah, so I'll take a look at this here in a sec. Let me move this over. All right, cool. Let me adjust this here. All right, so the strategy, remember everyone, the strategy that I use is the breakout and retest strategy. This is what I learned from my mentor. And keep in mind, you can catch free access to see the breakout and retest strategy used by my mentor in action. Okay, so I share live free access to watch my mentor every Friday, 8:30 a.m. Central, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. All right. So he's live about, maybe roughly an hour to an hour and a half. He's in and out. Okay. He doesn't mess around. He's really, really good. And within the 3.5 months that I've been learning, I picked up things very, very quickly because of the simplicity at which they explain things. Okay. Not only that, the patience that he has. So toward the end of the session, he begins to answer a ton of questions every single day. And then he does a trade recap on his trades that he took live, and he makes that publicly available on his social media. So I've already shared the resource to check that out for those who were or who are interested. And if you are interested, just feel free to DM me. I'm able to share more information in real time within the free community. So if you're interested in a invite to the free community, feel free to DM me and I will get you squared away. All right. Let's see. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, by the way, I don't forget the giveaway. So for those of you who are interested in the giveaway, I already have many of you signed up on the list. I'm going to go over that list first the 1st of August. So let's do that Friday. Let's do that Friday. I'll go over the list and then we'll talk about any additional details if necessary, and I'll answer any questions that you all may have. But just a gist of the giveaway for those of you who are new, who've just joined. Um, I decided to do a giveaway for new traders, right? For newbies who are interested in learning how to trade, but you may not have the budget to begin. All right. So for you, you may be living paycheck to paycheck, pretty strapped for expenses, but you are definitely interested in learning how to trade. And so what I decided to do was offer a giveaway to the winner. The winner will receive anywhere between $300 to up to $1,000 to fund your brokerage account. All right, you could choose Thinkorswim, Webull, Robinhood, IBKR. It's really your choice. It's really not a matter of which one is better. To me, it's more of a matter of which one has the features that you prefer to, use to help you conduct your trading. All right. So yeah, the winner will receive anywhere between $300 up to $1,000 to fund their brokerage account. So I'll work with you to get your, step by step at your own pace to get your brokerage account set up. All right, and then I'll provide you with the funds to fund your brokerage account, and then we'll talk about letting you know which stocks to trade. So I'm going to get you set up the whole nine, and we're going to go through that practice. So guess what? You don't even have to risk your own funds. All right. So you'll be risking the funds that I provide you. And you'll be able to learn step by step how to grow your money. All right. So that's pretty key. And then the drawing ends the 3rd week of August, and the following week is when I will go live and select and announce the winner. All right. How will I select the winner? I'm going to use a free online random number generator. All right. So pretty cool. So if you're interested in that, feel free to DM me. All right. Just DM me and just let me know that you're interested in participating in the live drawing. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into the charts here. So I'm on the Tesla chart. For those of you who are interested in following along, I'm on the Tesla chart, and the time frame is the 1-minute time frame. For those of you who are completely new to trading stock options, again, this is stock options trading. All right, this is not futures, this is not forex or anything else like that. This is stock options. For those of you who are completely new, I'm on the 1-minute time frame. What does that mean? That means that every candle that you see on this chart is 60 seconds in duration. All right, for those of you who are completely new, 60 seconds in duration. All right, so let me activate my drawing tools and let's talk about what I expect coming into today. Let me stretch this out a little bit so you all on TikTok can see this. All right, those of you on my other streaming platform, you should be fine. All right. Let me know if you have any questions in the live chat, and I'll pause periodically to answer your questions. Thank you all for the likes. Thank you all for the support. Thank you for the follow. I really, truly appreciate you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so coming into today, remember, I use a breakout and retest strategy. For simplicity's sake, I won't go into depth for this explanation, but if you want me to drill down on any detail, just ask and we will, after the overview, after the explanation, then I'll come back and then we'll discuss those details. All right. So what do you need for the breakout and retest strategy? You need some key levels marked out. You need some key levels marked out. You don't need a whole lot to get started, but you do need some key levels. Okay, I'm going to keep this explanation very, very simple so anyone can follow along. All right, so we do have a couple key levels marked out here. We have the pre-market high and the pre-market low. Okay. What we want to do is box in the activity within the pre-market hours. Okay. We're simply marking out the highest point the price rose for Tesla during this session, all right, the pre-market session. And then we mark out the lowest point the price fell or began in the pre-market session. All right. So that does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. And so we just simply box that in with two lines. Now I wrote a script. Again, my background is software. I just marked these. I wrote a script to do this for me automatically. So it will draw out this key level, as well as a couple other key levels like the first 5 minute high and the first 5 minute low, as well as the previous day high, previous day low, and so on. All right. So these are the key levels that I primarily focus on for the breakout and retest strategy. And so we have those two levels marked out here. So this is the pre-market low. This is the pre-market high. Okay. So let's talk about what I'm expecting coming until today. Look at where price is currently. Look at where price is currently. All right. We started here, all right, near 321 and change, all right, in the open of the pre-market session. We came back and retested this level. Notice the push. All right, sellers trying to push the price lower. Obviously, there's this constant battle between buyers and sellers, right? But buyers are stepping in. But notice the wick on this up close candle right here. So sellers are trying. This is a nice size bearish candle. All right, so this is where price is. So the pre-market prep, or excuse me, the pre-market low and the pre-market high is the range. This is the range. So we have the top and the bottom. So within this range, what I'm looking for coming into the open, we just had that big deal announced yesterday. Take a look at what Tesla did yesterday. Let me zoom in just a little bit. A lot of consolidation. Look at the open. Okay, as soon as we open, even though this news dropped, hold on, let me take a look. When did that news drop? Tesla falling. Yep. Tesla signed. So 10 hours ago. 10 hours ago. Okay, so 10 hours ago is when that news dropped. And so look at yesterday. All right, look at yesterday. A lot of consolidation, not much movement at all. We dropped from 326.23 all the way down to as low as 318 and change. All right, and just pretty much stayed within that range. If you box in the highest point and the lowest point, we stayed in that range. All right, even in the post market, not much activity at all, but we're starting to pick up some momentum with that news, right? So, but we're still within range, not much. All right. If you use the yesterday's context as well, not much movement at all still. So what I'm looking for coming into today is maybe some more consolidation. I like to see the reaction off the pre-market low to see if buyers will hold this key level and continue to step in aggressively and push the price higher. All right. If that happens, you have a couple targets, right? So we'll be looking for high of day. So let's, for example, mark this level out to represent high of day. If buyers step in aggressively to push the stock price higher, we can enter a position at this point, all right, for continuation to the upside. If you're only able to afford one contract, then your exit would be high of day, all right? If you're able to afford to buy two contracts, for example, of Tesla, we talked about this in my previous live sessions. I've been discussing how you can buy the cheaper contracts and still make money, all right? I've been doing this for 3 months, testing it for 3 months straight, all right? So you can make money with the cheaper contracts just as well. All right. So your first exit, if you only have one contract, that is, your exit would be high of day. So once stock begins to push towards high of day, that's when you'll be looking to exit your position. If you have two or more contracts, then you can focus on scaling out of your position versus exiting the position entirely. Okay, so your second level would be the pre-market high. Okay, the pre-market high. Then you can also draw out some other key levels. Here we have multiple touches if you want it, but for simplicity's sake, I'm not going to go over that just yet. If you have additional questions, we can go over that later. All right. So the other scenario we could have is we could have an aggressive push by buyers, right? Let me pause and make sure I don't see any questions. All right. I don't want to go too far ahead. Hold on. Let me scroll up, make sure I'm not missing anyone. Okay, yeah, I see your question. All right, so Queen, what's up, Queen? Glad you're here. So glad you're here. Cheaper contracts, even if the date is after today's date or only today's date in the money. So let me pull this up. That's a great question. All right, so it would definitely be today's date, but there's a caveat here because you want to be mindful of when the contract expires. All right, so let me pull this up just as an example before I proceed with the explanation here. Give me just a sec. Let me log into Thinkorswim. Okay. Da-da-da. Okay. All right. All right, so let me pull this up and we can talk about those cheaper contracts briefly, and then I'll complete the explanation. If you all have additional questions, just drop them in the live chat and I'll get to those as well. All right, so let me minimize this so we can have more real estate. All right, on the screen, let me know in the live chat on TikTok. Can you see my screen clearly? If not, I could zoom in a bit more to make sure it's more visible. In TikTok, are you all able to see the screen clearly? Okay, cool. Beanie says yes. All right, cool. All right, so I'm in Tesla. All right, so again, this is Thinkorswim. All right, so we have what's described as the option chain. You don't have to know exactly what this means. All right, it's not really that relevant. There's a lot of things to learn. For those of you who are completely new, there's a lot of things to learn about day trading or trading in general stock options. All right. But you don't have to learn A through Z to begin making money. All right. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to help you learn the very basics or the fundamentals necessary to help you begin growing your money. Okay. That's what we'll focus on. And then as we progress, you'll begin to learn more about the terminology, but you would do so at a pace that's easy for you, right? So at your own pace. So anyway, in this option chain, we have several options. The information you see within parentheses represents time till expiration. Time till expiration. So as an example, if this said 0 days, then this is what you would want to stay away from. New traders, you would want to stay away from this if this said 0 days. So keep that in mind. There's variables at play. They're called Greeks. They're called Greeks. You don't have to know exactly what those are just yet, but they're called Greeks. And they could either negatively impact your position or positively impact your position. And they begin to have greater impact. They increase that negative impact towards your position as you approach expiration. All right. So this has 2 days. So the more time you have, the less worry you have to worry about those variables. Okay. The Greeks just represents variables, and that's just a simple explanation to help you comprehend how they work. All right. So that's really the fundamental aspect of how they work. So you want to buy cheaper contracts. 2 days is fine, 3 days, but I wouldn't try to keep these overnight. All right. I wouldn't try to keep these overnight. It just depends on how far the stock moved in your favor. So if it moved significantly in your favor, then you're fine. You're fine. If it only moved a little bit in your favor, then you're not so fine, because overnight anything could happen, and the stock can move against you, and you can lose significant money, and those variables could help impact that. All right. So 2 days, 3 days, greater. All right. You should be fine. All right, let's talk about the cheaper contracts really quick. All right, remember, price can only go in two directions, up or down, up or down. There's only two groups, all right, in this battle, buyers, sellers, right? Buyers want price to go up, sellers want price to go down. Very simple, right? What we have in any brokerage, whether it's Webull, Thinkorswim, IBKR, Robinhood, doesn't matter. You'll have two columns that represents both sides. All right, both groups. So the left column here is the buyers, the right column is the sellers. All right. So notice here for Tesla, this is just an example, but the rule is true for every ticker. This price here under the ask column, this price here, 24.90. What you have to do, for those of you who are completely new, those of you who are not new, you already know how this works. But for those of you who are completely new, this isn't $24.90. You have to move the decimal over two places. All right. So the price for one contract is $2,490, almost 2,500. Right. This is why I said some people may not be able to afford to trade. And this, like I said, this rule goes for every ticker, right? The prices will vary depending on the ticker. Many of your tech stocks, they may be more expensive. They may range anywhere between I don't know, like a couple thousand to maybe as low as like 500. It just depends if they're really valuable. And sometimes later they'll do like what's called a stock split, and then that will help cheapen the prices. But anyway, for Tesla, just for this example, this represents $2,490. To find the cheaper contracts, you simply scroll down. We could talk about the delta column. This is what I like to explain. Typically, traders will trade anywhere between 0.45 and 0.60, anywhere between that range. They want to keep um, a type I forgot my train of thought. Anyway, they want to keep the spread between these two columns, the bid and the ask, between 10 or less. All right, 10 or less. You can see 8.10, 8.1, 8.2. So 10 points, 10 points or less is what they're ideally looking for. You don't have to know that just yet. All right, you don't have to worry about that just yet. All right, what I've been testing are the cheaper contracts that are down here. All right, 0.15, 0.12, all the way up to 0.26. And you can even go higher, right? You can go the 0.29, 0.36. You want to choose the contracts that are within your budget. All right. So I've been testing all of these from 0.12 all the way up to like 0.29. Okay. These contracts do make money. I have generated over $8,000 these past 2 months trading these cheaper contracts, and I have proof that I provided within the free journal, Stunk Journal. All right, so you can see I've made over 8.5K trading these cheaper contracts. So you can make money with them. The goal is you just want to start buying more of them. Let me get back to that. Where was I? Where did you go? All right, here you go. All right, so for example, let's say you can only afford, let's say you have a budget of $300. Well, you could buy this one contract for $258, or you could buy two contracts of the 0.19, right? Delta contract. So that's the option. My suggestion, not suggestion, because I can't make a suggestion because that's illegal if you're not a financial advisor. So I can't tell you or advise you what to do. But here's what I would do. If it were me and I had $300, I would buy two contracts versus just one, because you could focus on scaling. Why? Why? What's the benefit of holding on to multiple contracts? I've been demonstrating this in past live sessions. Those trailing contracts can make significant money. All right. As the price begins to climb, they will continue to jump exponentially in value. That's why. All right. So let me pause periodically, make sure no one has any questions in the live chat. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm not missing anyone. Okay, cool. Nikki Nicole, what's up? I'm glad you made it, Nikki. Grand Rising Kings and Queens. I'm so glad you made it. Let's see. Let me scroll back down. Uh, Queen Harms, thank you so much for explaining so simply. You're so very welcome. That's my goal. I just want to make sure everyone is able to learn. Emperor, what's up, Emperor? How you doing? How do you make profit? Could you do me a favor? Could you elaborate a little bit more on that question? I just want to make sure that I'm answering your question specifically. All right. I don't want to assume what you may mean, because what I have in mind is different scenarios right now. So could you elaborate on what you mean? Uh, how do you make profit long term? I'm not sure if that's an additional question or if that's within the same context. Could you elaborate just a little bit more, and then I'll answer that question for you? No problem. All right. Oops. Okay, cool. So let me give Emperor a little bit to see. The goal here is to purchase and then sell same day, correct? You can. You can. That would be considered day trading, right? You enter a position day one and you sell the same day. So yeah, you can do that. But as you see, these days here, the time till expiration, this means if you wanted to, you could hold those positions for up to that point of expiration, especially if you're significantly in the profit, right? If you've made a significant profit, you can hold them. You could hold them and keep capturing more gains. That's what I said. If that happens, let me give you an example. Let me pull up the chart really quick. I'm on Tesla. I'm going to switch to the daily chart, the daily time frame. Let me reset this. So for those of you, hopefully you can see this clearly. Let me activate this drawing tool. All right, so you see the peak. So each candle here represents days. All right. So for those of you who can't see the bottom of this screen, this point, the lowest point right here, the lowest point this day is Thursday, October 24th. Thursday, October 24th. Thursday, October 24th. This move is 4 days later. 4 days later. So from the bottom to the top to this move right here, that's 4 days later. So if your contract doesn't expire, like I was showing here, till 9 days, till 9 days, you could have caught, you could have stayed in for the entire duration of that 4 day movement, right? And that's what I mean. So if you want to do that, you can enter into a position when you think the stock is going to begin to climb based on news reports and technical analysis. You could have jumped in at the bottom here, right? Because this would have been a nice point of entry, right? We had a nice little retest back to this area, right? We did jump up, but then we came back, retested this zone, broke out again a little bit, but we didn't make a new high, and came back for the retest. Still didn't push higher just yet, but we are. This is a significant push on the buy from the buyer. So yeah, if you had entered here 4 days later, you could have caught that momentum. So you could have got out the same day with whatever profit you accumulated. You could have got out day two or day three, as long as the stock is moving. But by the way, keep this in mind. Thinkorswim, for example, has a mechanism, uh, a feature that you could enter in the system and say, "Hey, I want to stay in this position for as long as the stock continues to climb. But if in the event the stock begins to move against me, you see this down trend right here, or this pullback. We call it a pullback. This is healthy. This is expected. But for you, for example, this pullback, you could say and enter this condition in the system. All right. So systematically, the system will jump you or exit your position for you. All right, without you having to stay in front of your screen to press any buttons. So you could say, you know what, I captured some gains today. It's toward the end of the day, and you're thinking to yourself, you're like, well, you know what, this stock might continue to climb, but I do want to protect myself against a pullback, a steep pullback or reversal, because I want to protect the profits that I accumulated so far. So you can systematically enter the conditions to say, for example, if the stock, I'm just going to use a nice round number. Let's say you made $100. Okay, you could have made way more than this, but I'm just going to use a nice simple round number. Let's say you made $100 day one. You want to continue to capture further gains. All right. Let's say one of the conditions, you don't want to lose no more than $10. So you could enter that condition in and say, hey, look, if the stock begins to move against me and my gain drops from 100 to 90, get me out of the position. Or you could say $20. That's 10 to 20%, right? Which is that's what you'd be looking for. You really don't want to drop below that, but it will be up to you. It's your choice, right? So you could say, hey, get me out if it drops below 10 to 20% from my, from my original profit. And then once that happens on this pullback here after day 4, right? During day 4, you would have, well, actually, this is November 4th. So you could have been in a couple of days, but like, let's say after October 28th, yeah, the next day, the 29th or the 30th, as soon as it reached that 10 or 20% threshold, the system would have exited your position for you. All right. But obviously, if you had a longer term, let's say 30 days or greater, then you could have also captured these gains. But no worries, right? If you only had, 9 days, you could have took your profit here, waited for a pullback and for another entry point, got back in, right? Got back into a new position and caught even more gains. All right. So let me pause it there. Let me make sure I pause and answer any more questions. Let's see. So let me know, Beanie, if that answered your question. Okay. So if you need me to expound on that, I will. All right. SS Nova, let's see. TB. Oh, snap. I see you looking at them deltas. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Feel free. Hey, yo, drop any information. If you see people asking questions, for those of you who have more experience, and you can provide a simple explanation for those in the chat that are new, please feel free to help out. I really, really appreciate you because it does take me a little while to get to everyone's questions while I'm trying to uh, answer or provide an explanation. SS Nova, let's see. Hey, had a question. If I have profit on the simulated returns in sale, do I keep the profit? No. Are you talking about paper trading? No, no, no. You don't get to keep the profits. I'm assuming you mean, can you transfer that to your financial institution of choice? I'm assuming that's what you mean. I'm not sure. Let me know if I'm answering your question. If not, just please elaborate and I'll go ahead and uh, answer your question. All right, B Nee, you said that would have been a breakout on October date. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So this would have been a nice point of entry to capture this move toward the upside. So you would have went long on this position, and you would be expecting these pullbacks. So you could have got out, captured the gain, waited for the pullback, made sure the bottom was reached. You'd wait for confirmation that buyers were stepping in because I think this was a gap up here. Yeah, see, we gapped up from November 5th to November 6th. So this was overnight. Overnight, we gapped up. So you would have waited. So you wouldn't have entered here. You could have, but this would have been a more ideal entry point, right? You want to see buyers are really truly stepping in for that continuation. And then you might have experienced a brief period of drawdown, right? So from the 12th, 13th to the 14th, and then you would have started to notice that recovery, right? If you got in early, then you wouldn't have experienced any drawdown at all. But if you got in at the close of this candle on that Friday overnight, right, going into the next week, Monday or Wednesday, Thursday, and so forth. But yeah, that would have been a nice gain for you. Let's see. Is that it? Make sure I got everyone's questions. Can you walk through a purchase to sell on a contract? Let's see. I could, but we are approaching when my mentor goes live. Let's see. How about we do this? Can you walk through a purchase to sell on a contract? If I, how about I go live later today after my session, after I uh, finish with the live session with my mentor? He goes live at 8:30. So he'll begin at 8:25. So I only got 20 minutes. So I wanted to finish the pre-market prep first. But maybe so what I could do is I could theme that particular live session to discuss selling that scenario, right? So walking through purchase to sale on a contract, if that's what you mean. If you want to see a real trade, right, a mock trade, so we can go into the market a little bit later before the market close, we can go in and do a mock trade. Because I did one for Nvidia, and I wanted to get to that in the pre-market prep, but I don't think I'm going to have enough time. Let's see. So let me know if I'm answering your question correctly, okay, Beanie? If not, just let me know. All right, Susanna, what's up, Susanna? Glad you're here. Good morning, everyone. Please tap, tap, tap your screen. She always got my back. I love you. I love you. I love you. Let's see. Saints. Da, da, da. Thank you for the follow, Saints. Let's see. That says Nova. Thank you. Thanks. You're helpful and not rushing, life changing. Yeah, I got y'all. So every day, same thing. Let's see. By the way, I have uh, networked with a few people. So I am so excited. I'm so very excited to in the future sessions that we're going to have. She Trades. She Trades was on. She has 3 years experience. She answered so many questions yesterday. So in future pre-market preps, I'm going to cover Tesla. She's going to cover IWM. So I'm very, very excited and glad that I have networked with her. And there was one other person, Natalie. She does. She day trades and she also swing trade. And so I was telling her yesterday that I wanted to learn more about swing trading to learn from her edge and have her share her experience and knowledge with us. All right. So she said she'd be happy to do that. So I'm just waiting for her to reach out. So as soon as she reaches out, I'll have her join in on future lives as well. So yeah, let's see. Da, da, da. All right, cool. All right, D Mitch, what's up, man? Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Appreciate the love. He's at 100 prayers. Got you. Appreciate you. Glad you're here. All right, so let me get back to the 1 minute time frame. Let me finish this explanation because I have to end this live and get mentally prepared for the trade. I couldn't trade yesterday because I wasn't mentally prepared, and so I missed the entry for AMD. I wanted to talk about that in this pre-market prep, that trade, because it presented three entries if you miss the initial entry. But I won't get a chance to talk about it today, but I'll talk about it in another session. All right, so the next thing that could happen, the next scenario that could happen, let me activate this drawing tool, is we could see an aggressive push from buyers. And I'd be checking the reaction off this pre-market high, right? So we could see a break right at the open above the pre-market high. I mean, buyers could step in aggressively. We did have that significant drop in at the open yesterday, but we did have news drop recently. So right at the open, buyers could step in very, very, very aggressively and break above the pre-market high. What would I be looking for at this point? Well, I'd be looking for a pullback, aka a retest back to the pre-market high here. Do Does that pullback or retest have to touch the pre-market high line exactly? No. Think of this as a pricing zone. The current line represents 322.70, $322.70. It does not have to touch that line exactly. All right. It could come near, it could touch it, or even break slightly below it. Okay. All of those count. Okay. Think about a range in price. So instead of just 322.70, think about like 321 to like 320, 322, 322.90 or something like that. All right. So think about a pricing range, but it doesn't have to be perfect. All right. It doesn't have to be perfect. So what are we looking for if this happens? If we get the pullback, all right, we're looking to see if buyers are going to hold this key level. All right. We need to make sure before we enter a position, a long position toward the upside, we need to make sure buyers are going to hold this price zone. Okay. We don't want to enter in a long position if sellers are going to be more powerful and push the price lower. All right. We don't want to do that. So we're looking for buyers to step in aggressively here to enter our position. Here's where we could enter our position if that happens. If you were only able to buy one contract, where would you look to exit? Again, we're rinsing and repeating. Same thing, high of day. All right. So you can look to exit your. Now, keep in mind, I'm providing a very simplified explanation to determine other key levels and other exit points. For example, you have to look left and go see where the stock fell or rose before to mark out those additional key levels. And those other additional key levels are what you could use as additional targets if you have more than one contract. Okay. Just keep that in mind. That's an FYI. For right now, for simplicity's sake, um, we're just looking at one scenario. All right. So if we entered our position here, where we could look to exit our position, if you only have one contract, for example, you could exit that one contract at high of day. So if buyers step in, we will be looking for continuation to come near high of day. It doesn't have to be exact in the same way. It does not have to be exact. All right. Once you see that aggressive push towards that level, all right, towards that key level, high of day, then you can look to exit your position. You can wait till it breaks above that level. All right. That's fine as well. So many people do. Okay. But once it reaches that level or breaks above it, if you only got one contract, what I would do, I can't tell you what to do, but what I would do is scale out of that position. I would exit my position if I only have one contract. If you have two contracts, again, same thing, just rinse and repeat. You scale out of one, that will be 50% of your position, and you leave the one contract trailing. You could also enter in the conditions in that mechanism that I told you about in Thinkorswim to protect yourself against a steep pullback or reversal and potentially capture more gains. All right. So that could happen. That could happen. The third and final scenario that I'm going to talk about. Look, we are falling again. We are falling again. Let's take a look at Forex Factory. It's 8 o'clock. We had quite a few scheduled news drops since then. So we had 3, we had 7:15, and we had 7:30. All right, so the GDP dropped. All right, so let's take a look. So at 7:30, this is when the news dropped. If I jump back over to Tesla and go to 7:30, look at what happened at 7:30. Can you all see that? Let me zoom in for those of you on TikTok. Look at what happened at 7:30. Look at what happened at 7:30. Okay. So at 7:30, look at the wick on this up close candle. Look at the wick here. So during this candle, when it was forming, every candle is 60 seconds in duration on this 1 minute chart. All right. On the 1 minute time frame. I'm on the 1 minute time frame for those of you following along. And look at the subsequent candles after the news dropped. So when that news dropped, as the news was dropping, sellers stepped in. Look at the wicks on these candles, okay, and continued to push the price lower. So that's what I mean by being prepared, right? When you have such news, especially when it's scheduled, you know what to look for. So you can go and check and make sure either you exit the position before that news drops, or you wait till after the news drops, see what direction the market is trending or your stock of interest is trending after the fact. Then you can enter your position, right? Simple, right? Easy peasy. We did start to recover, but look, not too much. We didn't even break above this point. All right, we're still sellers are still stepping in to push the price lower. Okay, so look at where we are. Still, all right, we retested this. Look how many times we retested the pre-market low. So here, 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 and then now a fourth time. All right, so we're still staying within this level. So that allows me to segue into this final scenario, and then I'm going to have to end this live. All right, so I will go live if I take a trade to talk about my trade recap, right? And then I can answer any additional questions and go over that trade and answer questions specific to the trade that I might have taken today. So, all right. So the third and final is we could continue heavy for whatever reason. News could drop right at the open, and sellers could push this price lower right at the open, and we could break below the pre-market low. Currently, we're sitting at 321 even, 321 even. Okay. So if that happens, well, the breakout and retest would be inverted in this case because we'll be looking for a pullback, aka retest, back toward the pre-market low before we look to enter a position. We do not chase price. Yes, it's very tempting. It looks good. The price is trending downward. We might be able to capture a gain. Some people do that. That is their strategy. All right. But unless you're very confident in doing so, I would not recommend doing that until you practice that via paper trading. All right. What are we looking for? Well, retest, pull back, right back towards this level. Doesn't have to be exact. Doesn't have to be exact. It could be here, for example. What are we looking for? Weak price action. Weak price action. What does weak price action represent? That represents the seller side. That represents the seller side of things. All right. All right. So what are we looking for? Same thing, but just inverted. Sellers to step in aggressively to begin pushing that price lower. If we see that, we could look to enter our position here. And where would we look to exit our position? Again, there are many key levels that you can draw out. You would just look left of the chart and see where the stock has risen and fell. All right, pretty simple. And you mark out those key levels. If you all want to catch and learn this, I can share. We can actually do a live session specifically on that, or you could catch my mentor's #2 pro trader. His name is Jack. All right. For those of you who are in the free community, I already left that resource. You could catch him every day, Monday through Friday. He goes through charting every pre-market prep. All right. And he's really good. Really good. That's who I learned from. If you want to catch that, he'll also, excuse me, let me slow down. He'll actually go through multiple tickers too. So you'll get a chance to see him rinse and repeat that same approach multiple times within the pre-market prep. So if you're interested in catching that, you can catch him live every day, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern for his live pre-market prep. All right, so in continuation with this explanation, when are we looking to exit? Low of day. Remember we talked about high of day in the previous two scenarios? Now it's low of day. Same thing, it's just inverted, right? Low of day. So if we have continuation, sellers continue to push the price lower. If you only have one contract, you can exit here. Or if you have multiple contracts, you can still exit your entire position here. If you reached your predetermined target, that's the only thing that matters, ladies and gentlemen. That's the only thing that matters. Whatever your predetermined target is, all right? You're trying to grow your money consistently. Don't look to chase money, please. Please. All right, listen very carefully. Don't look to chase money. Focus on your financial goals. If your goal is to grow your money consistently at a specific rate, focus on that. All right. Don't try to stay in because you quickly made money. Like I was telling people, for example, Monday, I made $500 in 7 seconds. Don't look to stay in the entire position just because you made money so quickly, thinking, well, this could jump to 1,000 or this could jump to 2,000. Don't let your mind deceive you, okay? Because our minds will deceive us. And you don't want to do this. Don't play with your money, all right? This is not gambling. We're not gambling, all right? This is strategy. This is technical. What we're doing is we're focusing on our strategy and we're executing it to the letter. All right. So we don't gamble. We have a goal in mind and we stick to it. You'll see, you'll hear from those in other communities why they've been losing because they'll tell you pretty much. A lot of people are pretty transparent about that, and they'll tell you, man, I wasn't sticking to my strategy. I was chasing after money. I have FOMO, fear of missing out. I was just jumping into trades, so on and so on, and it just creates a vicious cycle. So yeah, I made 507 seconds in one candle. In one candle, 7 seconds in that one candle. Did I stay in? No. I already reached my goal. My goal is 3 to 7% return. All right, 3 to 7% return. For many of you, that may not be enough. All right, for me, that was more than enough. All right, I want you to keep this in mind. You have to do set your own predetermined goals. Calculate this for yourself. For me, I know what my financial goals are. I know that if you make, for example, $300 per day during a 1 year session, right? The stock market is open 265 days a year, all right? 265 days, right? So you exclude holidays and weekends, all right? So it's open 265 out of the 365, right? If you were to make $300 each day, each of those sessions, you're well over a six-figure salary, all right? Keep that in mind. If you only did $100 a day for the 265 days, you would make well over 25K. All right. So just keep that information in mind. Do your calculation and check. You will start to see that you'll begin to take advantage of compounding if you continue to reinvest the initial investment plus the gains, and it's going to grow exponentially. I talked about this. In fact, I'm going to do another live where I talk specifically about that. All I focus on is the art of finance, and that's answering three questions. How do you get money? What do you do with it when you get it? How do you grow and protect it? All right. That's the third and final thing that I focus on. How do you grow and protect it? So you have to stick to the script. I achieved my goal. I made 507 seconds. I was done for the day. All right. So then I look to re-enter a trade either the following day or sometime later that week. And as you can see, before I leave this live session, I'm going to jump over to my calendar really quickly. Look at my results for the past 2 months trading these cheaper contracts. All right. 8.5K in 2 months. All right. So I'm averaging so far a little over 4,000 a month. Look at my weekly. Let me move this over for those of you on TikTok. Look at my weekly. All right. Look at my weekly. $12.60. Not much, right? But you don't fret. You don't worry. 5 out of 8 green trades. All right. 3 of the 8 was red. Next week, 2.2K. Like I said, you don't worry. You don't fret. You just stick to the plan. All right. The money will come. You're not worried about chasing money. You just stick to the plan. All right. The next week, 1.5K, almost 1.6. All right. I won 6 out of 9 trades. All right. And then this final week, or excuse me, the week before that. This is the previous week. This was last week. All right, $222. I won 4 trades, lost 1. And then this week, this is the final week of July. And this was where I made that $500 in 7 seconds. All right, I didn't trade yesterday. So far, just 1 green trade. All right. I might trade today, but I'm not itching to jump into a trade. I'm already up this month green. So I'm not itching. The money will come. I'm just focusing on practicing, the right mindset going into the session and then executing the trades that I see fit. All right. So hopefully that helped you all. If you found value, feel free to like, subscribe, and follow for more. Tap in with me if you want further information. If you want to join the free community, feel free to DM me. All right. I will never spam you. Never, ever, ever. I will never ask you to pay anything. If someone does, if they impersonate me, it's an impersonation. It's false. It's a scam. All right, because I don't need anyone's money. All right. So yeah, please tap in. Um, DM me. Just let me know, and I'll get you access to the free community. And like I said, just as a reminder, a lot of things are moving, so feel free to tap in. Don't miss out. Okay, a lot of things are moving. We're getting some very, very helpful, experienced traders that I've been networking with. She Trades is going to be joining me in future pre-market preps. I'm going to be going over Tesla. She will be going over IWM. We both have a similar strategy. She will be teaching the simplicity of her strategy as I continue to teach the simplicity of the strategy that I use. And this is an awesome, awesome, awesome collaboration. So I'm very, very excited that she's here. And so I can't answer any additional questions right now. I apologize to everyone because I got to get ready for this session with my mentor. Um, I apologize. I can't answer anyone's questions. But if you're in the free community, She Trades is available to answer questions. Okay. And I can answer your questions later today. All right. So she's available. She's already been reaching out. Oh, I see you. I see you. I didn't know if you was in today. I didn't know what your schedule was in the morning. So I didn't want to disturb you. I'm so glad you're here, She Trades. You my girl. All right. I appreciate you. I love you. So yeah, DM for that, DM for the free community, for an invite for the free community, and I will get you all squared away. And She Trades, I'll connect with you after the live session with my mentor today, and then we could work on our scheduling. Okay. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to drop right now. I apologize if I missed your question. Feel free to DM me your question. If I didn't get a chance to answer any of your questions, I will not leave you hanging. I will answer every single one of them. Okay. I will answer every single one of them. All right. So, let me know. Just DM me and I will get to them. All right. So I have to go ahead and jump right now. I got to go and jump onto the live session with my mentor. All right. Keep in mind, I'll be sharing access so you all can watch him on Friday. All right. Keep that in mind. I'll be sharing free access again on Friday. All right. So I'm going to jump. And for those of you, thank you all for your support, for the follows, everything. I love y'all. All right. I'm going to drop right here. Later. Hey everyone on the live YouTube chat. Thank y'all for joining, man. I appreciate y'all. Hey Irma, love you, love you, love you. All right, so yeah, y'all have a great day. I'm gonna end this live and jump on to my mentors live session. All right, so I'll check y'all out a little bit later. I might go live to do a trade recap if I take a trade. So I'll see you all later.